Yeah, it's fine.
Maybe you should read it.
I'm joking.
By the end of spring semester 2016, the fight against the Amaranth was almost finished. Grads, Sean, Stefan, Jillian had hoed and wheel hoed and hand weeded countless fields, and this pernicious weed had fled before the relentless onslaught. The weekly war had left the fields covered with a gruesome carnage, purple sprouts uprooted and left to burn under the hot sun. Wide-leafed invaders cast aside to molt the very earth from whence they came. Old-growth forests of 6 feet tall amaranthus devastated, never to recover their former glory. The surviving amaranth would not stand this threat to their way of life. They summoned their powers of etheric revenge. They potentized all available auric fields, and they drew upon their powers of biological transmutation to perpetrate a sly and vicious comeback. The wisest amaranthus plants on the whole property gathered on Strawberry Hill amongst the brassica to discuss the future of their race. Emboldened by the present danger, they chose the 9 strongest and craftiest among themselves to be transformed into human beings. Of it, these 9 amaranthus applied for the Green String Summer 2016 internship. They had all the evil arts of weedy applicants at their disposal as they tended to resumes and fabricated references. As intern, Supervisor Susie sat down to decide who would make it into that season's field crew. Every amaranth plant on the farm exerted its persuasive powers from near and far, looking over applications. Susie suddenly felt dizzy. Names began buzzing in her ears. A great humming arose as all the amaranthus began whispering names in unison. Cynthia Dillon, or Deerhide. Susie felt faint. She quickly sent out acceptances. The season's crop of interns seemed like any other until field work got underway. A sequence of curious events marred each day of hoeing. The interns stumbled down the field, taking longer for each successive row. Out of nowhere, a blade would slip, nearly decapitating a squash plant. Whenever the grads turned their backs, entire rows of dill would be eliminated, while solitary amaranth would be carefully protected in a crime scene that was clearly intended to appear as a case of mistaken identity. But as the summer wore on and mistakes piled up, Susie felt a tinge of unease. Could a human being make these kinds of mistakes? Or
Was a more sinister loyalty.
Was a more sinister loyalty at play? There was only one way to find out. She decided to consult with medicine man, plant doctor, and professional amaranthus buster Bob Kennard. Bob showed up at the sabotage scene, armed with a copy of Sonoma County Soil Survey Index and his characteristic swagger. Well, he barked, what seems to be the problem here? Bob was quickly informed of the farm's plight. He walked off to see the fields overrun with amaranth. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, he lined up the interns up against the garage door and began scrutinizing their auras to discern their allegiance and were they agents of weed suppression, agents of crop destruction, or agents of wood destruction, digestion. Contamination was widespread. Nevertheless, Bob found that 3 out of the 9 were loyal and truly human and could be retained without harm. The rest would be exiled to the trackless wastes outside of civilized society, doomed to direct soul for eternity. In the end, Green String would recover from this summer setback to bravely go on where no farm had gone before. On July 22nd, 2016 at 6:30 a.m., Captain Nowicki guided his signature red vehicle to a safe landing on the surface of the moon near the asparagus field under the directions from General Kennard. At ground control, Nowicki and his crew began transplanting Roma tomatoes and other varieties hardy enough, Kennard felt, to survive the lack of anything resembling soil on the barren, lifeless terrain.